listening to Talking Law, the podcast where business owners just like you discover how to avoid legal landmines and build value using smart legal tips. Join your host, Joanna Oakey, as she cuts through the legal jargon and gives you clear and simple, actionable legal strategies, which will get you optimal business results.
Hi, it's Joanna Oakey here and welcome back to Talking Law, a podcast proudly brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. Now, today is a bit of a different sort of podcast, but I tell you what, it's an absolute ripper. We have on board Peter Lloyd to talk a little bit about his business story, about how building the right kind of business can deliver you wealth and freedom. Now, this episode might be a little bit woo-woo for some people, so just putting a warning out there right at the beginning. But it's such a fabulous story and I think really well timed, given we're in a difficult business climate for many businesses at the moment, and many businesses during this really difficult COVID period might be stressed to the point where the whole business model is under question. And the episode that I have here today with Peter, I think really focuses well on how a business owner can go from a business that has declined. In fact, Peter talks about his history of one of his businesses that ended up in liquidation and put him in personal bankruptcy. But he talks also about the upside of all of that and how it all turned around for him and the strategies that he put in place to moving from bankruptcy to having the business of his dreams, where he really sets his own terms. And so Peter and his wife, Kim, are now in the situation where they have a business that they can leave for 6 weeks, heading to Whistler, apparently, which sounds just fabulous. Perhaps not right at this moment because we're still in the middle of lockdown for COVID. But the point is he has a business now that allows him to do that. In fact, he has multiple businesses. I think in this podcast he talks now about currently owning 3 businesses, although having owned many more in the past. But the lessons that he's learned along the way about how to create a business that can deliver you not just wealth, but also freedom, and the sort of freedom that you could perhaps only just dream about at the moment. So without further ado, let's talk to Peter, because I tell you what, this is a bumper. It's a really great story. So here we go, talking to Peter. Peter, I just wanted to say an absolutely massive thank you for joining us on Talking Law.
Very excited to be here.
Okay, now what
Is that sarcasm? No. Yeah.
Now, the reason, and I'm just so grateful for you for coming onto the podcast today, because when we first started talking, and we started talking in the context of working together in some gym acquisitions, but we'll leave that to the side for the moment. But when I first started talking to you, I knew that you had some stories that I really wanted to delve into on this podcast. And there's another reason. I actually just really love talking to you because you've got this rawness.
Yes.
Go for it.
Yeah. Some people might call that an egotistical bastard, but I don't know. That's probably more my wife. But
and I'm going to tell you right now, this podcast is audio edited, but we're going to leave this one quite raw today. So I feel the need to already splash a bit of a warning. If there might be some language today, and you know what, if that doesn't work for you, then just listen over it, because the content is so going to be worth listening to. So,
and I'll try and stem it a little bit, guys.
I don't. You know what? I think the people, our listeners out there, are ready for something raw. So let's hit them with it.
Good. Okay.
Now, Peter, I want to. I have a really strong belief in business growth through acquisition. And when I heard you talking, I could hear. I could hear within you someone who had worked through the elements of business in terms of finding a way to make things easier or maybe fit with your life plan a bit better. And that's part of what I really wanted to dig into today. And then I wanted to make sure we could deliver to our listeners how you got there and what your recommendations are. So some of the learnings from the past and now what it is that you're following that's really sort of gelling for you and has worked well for you, because I think you're beating a path that's quite different to the majority of business owners I speak to, and I think that's cool, and I think it's really worth delving into and exploring a little bit. So before we get into where you are now, how about you give us just a really quick background, just so that we can see where you are now and how you got to where you are, because I think it's a unique story.
Okay. I guess my story is like everyone else. Grew up in a small country town. I grew up in a very violent family, and my mum asked me to leave at the end of year 10, which I did. I hitchhiked from South Australia up to Tully, Queensland.
Wow.
And I think that was the start of my wonderful journey. Obviously, there was a lot of lessons that you learn through that, but then a few years later.
Sorry, can I just pause you? What you said, a lot of lessons, and you started off when you were talking about that. You said, like a lot of people, and to be completely frank, I don't know that there are, it sounds like a really tough childhood. There's not many people who are hitchhiking themselves, across the country. So what's the one learning that you reflect back on and you say you took out of that period?
I guess the biggest, this is intimate, but I guess the biggest thing for me is when I got up there and I was in this house, I got dropped off at a random person's house, and they said he'll look after you for a couple of months. About 5 months later, after living in that house, I rang my father, and I was at the point where I forgave him. And I even said to him, I forgive you and I love you no matter what. And we were both crying at the time. And he goes, I don't deserve that. And that was the turning point of me being a victim. Because everyone stays in that victim mentality. And if you come from a place of love and forgiveness, then you can move on. You're elevating yourself higher and higher and higher. And I believe that's what we're all here for. And that was the turning point for me. I think the biggest lesson, if anything.
You were quite young to hit that insight, though.
I guess, if you look at kids in Africa or anything like that, then they've probably got those sort of insights too. When any human person or spirit is put into a place of pain or fear and anger, it comes out in different formats. I think when your life is, some of the best lessons we learn in life are from tragedy.
Yeah.
So people need to embrace the tragedy as much as they embrace the joy. Without the fear, you don't embrace the love. If you were just in love all the time, you wouldn't grasp the concept of the different levels of love. You need to understand the concept. You need to understand you are both. You are both fear and you're both love.
I love it. And so here you are, meant to be in year 10, but not even finishing school. I love it. And
I went to Darwin from there. I went to Darwin and I spent a few years labouring around there. Went for Paspali pearls. I did all the top end of Australia on a pearl boat, which was amazing. Did prawn trawling, lots of adventurous things that I found very exciting. And then I joined the military. I turned into be a parachute specialist.
Wow.
I spent 11 years there. I injured myself over in East Timor and got a medical discharge around 2008. Started up an e-commerce business selling gym equipment.
Right.
With some business partners. So we sold spas. We did exceptionally well. But because the GFC hit us, but because we were spending too much money on cars, et cetera, we didn't have an understanding of budgeting or anything like that. That all came crashing down, and that sent me personally bankrupt. So I lost all most of my wife's money. all of my money. I'd had multiple properties. We'd done a little bit of developments. We've, share trading back then. So, yeah, and then, getting back to that initial question you asked me, that was the turning point. We talk about some of the hardest things in your life create the best things as well. So at that time of bankruptcy, it was a very dark spot. But that's what created the amazing life I have now.
And I just, it's interesting, isn't it, that we're having this discussion and reflecting on some of these things right in the middle of COVID. Obviously, it may not be obvious, you are in the gym industry. It is an industry that is, being completely hit by, and here we are when we're recording, almost everything is opening up, and yet the gyms still don't have our time frame. But
it's complete bullshit. I mean, you've got
didn't mean to start.
You've got people who go drink grog at a bloody bar and put poison into their body. I like a drink. Don't get me wrong. Yet you can't have a bloody gym open with a horse per square meter person. It makes absolutely no sense.
But they'll come back. But
100%.
The people, I feel like a lot of our group of listeners at the moment are going through pain. And I guess some of what you're talking about here is you've done the pain, but the pain had a silver lining.
Everything has a seed. It's like a mustard seed of goodness to it. And we don't necessarily understand it at the time. If this COVID has allowed you to reflect on your life, the way you're living it, and you hate it, then to me, that's amazing. That's a step, because that is the first step to change, and you're the only one that can create that change. Yeah, and that's the mustard seed of hope. Yeah, that's the mustard seed of growth.
And so what is it that at that period, what was it about that period of, having built all this wealth from nothing and then having lost it all, what were the learnings then? What have you taken on, and what fueled you to be where you are now?
Oh, that was brutal pain, like brutal, demoralizing pain. And that took me to a really dark spot for a couple of years. But what we realized, thankfully my wife, if anyone wants to look her up, Kim Lloyd on Facebook, but she obviously helped me in that turning point where we both came together a little bit closer. A lot of pain. I was a complete arsehole. But it was probably more us understanding that we were happy together without anything. And you can utilize this for yourself. If you lived your day by the day, not looking at yourself in the future or the past, you remove the past and you remove the future, you're freaking happy. Most of the time you're happy. It's all these potential programming of, I should be here, I should have done that. Look what I did previously. That is not you, that's the past. Yeah. So if we can come into the context of that day, I think that's what allowed us to come back to that day and go, God, we're so blessed. My wife was pregnant and 2 weeks, due in like 2-3 weeks, when I had to come home and tell her we have to go bankrupt. Imagine how that makes you feel. But from that, we'd created our own vision. And this is the other thing, that if a big point with that guy, if anyone's listening, if you don't have a specific vision that you can engage in, for us, we did a goal board. I know a lot of people laugh about it and they go, that's dumb as dog shit, whatever. I don't care. But for me, when you wake up after losing everything to you and having a new baby, you need something to create energy for you to get up to go to work. Okay, so my driver was looking at this vision board. At the start, I thought this is complete bullshit. There's no way I can reach these goals and these targets. Okay, but then what I did is I did a Dr. Demartini course. If any of you know him, brilliant guy, and it allowed us to link our values to our life. So every decision we made from then on was linked to our values. You need to understand your core values. Yeah. And I suggest everyone out there, write down, if you've got you or your partner, the 10 most important things to you, and consider yourself a life raft. Okay. And it's thinking. Okay. Get rid of 6 of them. Okay. If you've got to throw them overboard, they're going to die. Your top 4 that you keep in that boat is your core values. Okay. Very important, guys. And if you live your life by your values, you will be happy.
And so what were the values that you then came up with as being core to you?
Family.
Yeah.
Okay, family, because that's what, for me, it was family, my wife and my kid, okay? But then second of all, and this is very important, money.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I'll explain that a little bit more. Then there was health, and then there was fitness. Health is easy. You just eat healthy, okay? Fitness is easy. You just go for a jump or whatever makes you happy, okay? The family was easy. Well, I've got a wife, so it's not that easy all the time. But and then the money thing, and a lot of people probably take the money thing the wrong way. But I'm a big believer in, if you put your energy, if money's on the bottom of your list, money needs energy. It needs attraction. It needs a job to do. It needs focus on it. It's like anything. If you don't give a shit about your husband or your wife, you lose them.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to grow your marriage, you focus on your marriage. Yeah. That's you put energy into it. A lot of people, they just go, I'll get my wage. I put $100 in savings. You know, it's just like, you got to put energy into it. And it doesn't mean that you're focused on money. It's just, money is just an energy to help you get what you want in life. It's a trade. Everyone's trading everything. If everyone says they're not into money, that's complete bullshit. Right? Think about it. You got to buy groceries. You got to, everyone's got. If you got a new car, you want to travel. You want to buy skis to go skiing. You want to send your kid to a private school. Everyone's freaking interested in money. It's just whether they allow themselves to freaking believe that or not. Yeah. So when you truly believe that, then things change. So yeah.
And one of the other things that I have heard you say is the freedom of time. So whilst it doesn't make it to your top 4, I have a feeling that must be
linked.
a driver as well. Oh, I see. Okay. Well,
yes. Now, the reason why we put money up, we put money and then the word freedom next to it. Mm-hmm. So it's what we associated money, and that's what I meant. It comes back to, it's what you associate family. I mean, your family might be your dog, your cat, right? So for me and Kim, our association of money was not money to go buy a nice car. Our association with money was to give us time, which is the most valuable, apart from your family. But you could have a family and have no time. What's the freaking point? You're going to spend time with the family.
And so tell me, let's move right now to today, just so that we can give, a contrast of the picture.
Okay.
So where are you now? Have you gotten yourself that freedom and time?
Yes, without a doubt. More than anyone else I know in reality that I've met. So, and even I get teased about it by my friends as well.
So give us a snapshot. What does it look like? What are you doing at the moment? How many businesses do you have, and why does that work for you?
Okay, so I live in Noosa. All my businesses are in Sydney.
Yep.
And that's for a reason. I've dreamt about living in Noosa a long time ago. So we realised that the closer you are to something, the more involved you can be. So I've taken myself away from that and worked on empowering my staff to run our business, because then that gives me freedom. So I'm in Noosa. I wake up to the sunrise over the ocean every morning.
Wow.
Okay. I have a dog, a cat. I don't have anyone that rings me up and tells me I have to be at work. I don't have any clients that tell me that I have to, like this call, pain in the ass. Right? This is for me. I'm like, is this a high
We're very
value?
Grateful to you, Peter. We're very, very grateful. I think you'll find by the end it's very high value.
No, but you see, it's how people value their time. right?
Yeah.
So I value my time. I don't allow anyone else to come into my time that I don't highly value. And that doesn't mean I'm not a giving person or I don't show love and empathy and give my time. It's just I'm very critical with it, you know. So you know, yesterday I went for a 3-hour walk with my wife along the beach, having a business meeting. I spend my time listening to audiobooks, reading, researching on the internet, exercising, going for swims in the ocean, taking my kids surfing, mountain bike riding. Yeah, but that's my thing, you know. And look, I've got 3 gyms at the moment. I've got another 3 to build. I've sold gyms before because they weren't in alignment with my values. I had to fly to Perth, and that was a pain in the ass. So I just went, you know what, sell it. Yeah, I had one in Geelong, pain in the ass. Let's sell it. I just want something simplistic. That's for me, though. Everyone has their own values and time, and that's what works for me. And that's what we're trying to create in this mentoring course is time and freedom, and everyone to break out of the bloody chains of debt that they're in, you know.
And so tell us how, when you first started to see business as a way to achieve this for you. But having said that, before we branch into that, it sounds like in this period before you went bankrupt, you'd worked out a formula of how to at least make money, right? So it sounds like you had a business and that made money, but before it all.
No, we didn't. So we had a business, but before that, I made most of my money whilst I was in the army saving.
Right, got it.
Saving and we saved really hard. So
you're a good saver.
Yeah, I'm a good saver.
Got it.
And look, the business went really well. We made a lot of money with that, but then we lost it all.
Yeah.
But I'd just so you know too, I brought my mum into the second gym.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So just skipping a little bit because I got distracted. I did that to give her freedom. So my mum had a very difficult life, very traumatic, and so now she has the freedom to travel anywhere in the world. She doesn't have to work.
Okay, so tell us what is the formula? How is that? So you said you brought your mum into one of the businesses. So you'd obviously discovered a formula before that. If you thought bringing your mum in was going to achieve something for us. So let's start with that first one. What's the formula? How did you find it? What is it?
Okay, understand your values. Okay, so go through your values, and then what you do is you look for a business that works with your values. So we looked at Boost Juice, we looked at food shops, we looked at $2 shops, we looked at you name it, everything. Okay, and nothing was sitting within our values.
Mm-hmm.
But then we found a gym that the system allowed us to have low staff. No food or was packaged, and it was close to our values because you remember one of our values was health.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for us, we looked at it and we went, oh, this is amazing. This works for us. We didn't have enough money to do it, by the way.
Right.
So that is the first step, understand correlating a business to your values. Yeah. And then what we did is we focused on how we could get that. Okay. And this is a little bit woo-woo, but we kind of believe that your thoughts create your reality. Okay. And it's like a quantum physics. Okay. So if you are projecting, it's like, the red car theory. You look at a red car and you like it, you see it online, then all of a sudden, if that red car drives, your eyes pick it up straight away.
Uh-huh.
Same context. Okay. So if you're always looking, searching, and very critical, you have to be very mindful of the words and the thoughts that you say to yourself. Okay, and this is another big thing that we changed. So when we wrote our goals out, we do daily action tasks. I am living in, it is the date, 22nd of May, I'm living in Noosa. I can feel the wind from the warm sea air. Do you understand that? It's the association. So what I'm doing is I'm creating an image within my head that lets off a chemical release that gives me joy when I think about that. Okay, so and that gives me an infinite energy to drive towards that. Okay, so that was our second big thing. little bit woo-woo, but I don't give a shit.
It's funny that you're talking about this because I know a lot of people think stuff like this is new age and woo-woo, but I think it was Napoleon Hill who wrote Think and Grow Rich, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Back in, when was it, like the 1920s or?
It was the 90s, Carnegie paid him or said, look, this is going to be you need to do this to change people's lives. So amazing. Yeah.
And then, so, I just think, like there's the point in showing that this sort of discussion or thought process is not new age, right? Because it's been around for a really long time because that book was written a long time ago.
I know.
Just wanted to throw that in because I was thinking it sounding very Napoleon.
I'll stop saying it's woo-woo then. Look, and I think the critical thing is too, and that comes back to we live in this realm of quantum physics where our thoughts create our reality, right? Because you can be stuck in a shitty house with no food, no food, and still be happy. It's all about your perception of your mindset, okay? Yep. But then what we did then is what we made sure that we went into the real world with our thoughts and go, okay, now we have to be realistic. How do we get the money? How do we get as much money as we can? And it's a mix of that quantum and real world because you can't just be a yogi sitting on a fucking rock saying, I want to
meditate and it will appear, doesn't it?
It's bullshit. It takes
probably not going to happen exactly that way.
You know, and this is the other thing. So action was the third step for us. Yeah. But not just your normal action. It's like action. If you tell me that you want to do something, and a lot of people I talk to, they're, I want to go and do this. I go, okay. So you've got 8 hours you worked, you spend 2 hours with your kids or whatever. What do you do for the rest of the night, Monday, Tuesday? I'll watch the Netflix series. It's like bullshit. You're not really interested in doing that. You're not really driven. That is not full purpose. No, it's commit to your goals 1,000%.
So then taking that and working out the practical application of that. So you decided, okay, we need to be clear about what we actually, we want to make sure we're very considered about what we're creating for ourselves in terms of business we're going to go into. We'll think about what businesses align with that. And,
Correct.
Even if, I guess like the really practical side is, well, that makes a lot of sense anyway, because if you're going to be spending a lot of time doing something, you may as well be bloody doing something that is enjoyable.
Exactly.
And so then you take that and you go, okay, gym business, this sounds great. We want to do that. It fits our values model. It also fits an economic model of business that we think will deliver a strong return, which meets our value of money. But we don't have any money. So what did you do? How did you get the money?
Okay, so after going bankrupt, I think we had about 70 grand of Kim's money because I was bankrupt. It's funny how the universe works. It was one random day and I was labouring and I went and saw a friend at a new gym and Anytime Fitness, and I pulled up and I walked through it and I just had this inspirational feeling. This is it. Because I'd spent every lunch hour, every smoko, every single part of my day going, it's going to come. I'm going to find it. And I know I had no money, right? And I just, when I walked in, it was like a feeling of this is it. So then I was lucky enough, the owner was there. It was the first day it was open. It's like one of the first Anytime's open in Australia. He saw me and I said, can I have a word to you tomorrow with my wife? Can I bring her back here? He goes, yeah, absolutely. He gave me some details and we came back, and then within 4 days we put our deposit down, and I said, I've only got this much money. He goes, don't worry about it. I'll find you a deal where we'll get the incentive to pay it, like the lease incentive to pay it. And that's exactly what he did.
How did that work? So mechanics?
Well, so when you get a landlord, throw in an incentive?
Yeah.
I told him, I said, I've only got 70 grand. And the franchise fee was like 35.
Yeah.
I said, how am I going to build a gym? He goes, don't worry about it. This is what I'm good at. I'll find you a property and I'll get them the incentive to put the money in to do it.
Right. And so you didn't have to. So the landlord. So you're committed to a period of time.
I was committed to a franchise area, and then what we went is, okay, we don't have enough money. Okay, so we had enough for the fit out, but we don't have enough for the bank guarantee. We don't have enough for the cash flow.
Yeah.
So then we went, okay, who else do we know that we can collaborate with to give us some money to come in as shareholders?
Yeah.
And luckily enough, it was Kim's sister was in the PT industry, and her boyfriend was there, and we brought them in. So it's another step, guys. Collaboration is critical, but you have to collaborate with people that have the same values as you. Very, very important. And so that's how we got our first gym. We didn't make any money for 2 years. Nothing. I was spent. Yeah, and then it just snowballed from there.
And so then you found a way to finance it, and now you're living the dream. And then sometimes living the dream isn't exactly what the dream was, right? Because you're actually like working bloody harder than you've ever worked in your whole life. But you've got a dream that's propelling you.
And that's the thing. When I come back to that infinite energy, it's different when you're doing something for you and your family. I'm not going to lie, guys. I busted my ass. I was on the train. I didn't have enough money to drive a car, so I had to get on the train. It took me an hour, 20 minutes to get there. I had to leave at 7 o'clock and get back at 9:20. Sometimes I'd miss the freaking train stop and end up halfway down Wollongong, so I wouldn't get to bed till 11. And, getting up for a new baby, help with the bottle feed, and it was tough. But that, I remember sitting on the train one time when I just worn out, just telling the universe to go get fucked. I said, you are not going to beat me. I don't give a shit what you throw at me. I'm going to beat you, and there is nothing that you can do about it. And it was really weird because within like 2 months, the gym started making profit for the first time.
That's bloody awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, I do believe, me and Kim truly do believe that when you allow the ability for you to, it's like your next level. Yeah, when you are when you can control that amount of money, to get to the next level, you have to show that you can control that money.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, you get it?
Yeah. And so tell me, so now we're at the point where the gym's actually making money, thank goodness, because there's a bit on the line at this point, including your sister-in-laws. Buddy, yeah. At what point did you decide now you're going to, did you acquire another gym, or was the next gym a greenfield site as well?
It was a greenfield site.
Yep. Okay.
So, because it was still new. There was we were the 30th gym open in Australia.
Wow.
First. So we had, our friends told us we were stupid, crazy, there's 5 gyms there already. So we got a lot of flack for that. But when we just started to see it turn, we could see that there was momentum in it, and we decided to pick up another one. We had just a little bit of cash, but we knew if we held it, I'd negotiated to not pay the franchise fee for a certain amount of time longer, because, new franchise, it was early access, it was more flexible. And then we bought that. And then by the time that came up, my mum had some money, which she threw in. We got that one going. Then we did a couple more, actually. And that, it's just a snowball effect. We kept our costs low. We didn't live the fancy lifestyle. We didn't have a new car. I had a second-hand Hyundai Sonata that everyone would laugh at me at. But, when you're banking 20, 30 grand a month and you're still driving a Hyundai Sonata, you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the trick is, another big thing what people don't understand is they start spending it straight away. Yeah? And they don't, you got to reinvest that. Live off the base salary that you had, and just keep living off that for some time being to get that foundation strong. Yeah?
Did you reinvest in business, or did you also reinvest in other things as well?
No, we because we found that system that worked, we reinvested in the businesses. Don't you know what? I feel like people, what they do is they think the grass is always greener. I'll go into developing. I'll go into property now. I think stick with a system that works and get it to a point where it's really running well. And for us, the big thing was freedom. Okay, so it comes back to our values. So I needed to make enough money to allow me to pay someone else to oversee the gyms, and then me walk away. I walked away, but I'm in a different area. So that was the main value. Yeah.
And at what point between doing that first deal to get that first gym up until the point where you had, was it a general manager or whatever, someone to come in and take over the operations, how long did that take?
5 years. So we're talking 2011 to 2017.
Okay, all right, so around about 6 years.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I have witnessed is there's a few periods of real vulnerability for businesses right in the beginning. As everyone knows, many businesses just don't make it past the starting gates. So right in the beginning, and then high growth is a really vulnerable phase.
Yes.
And then, and generally because the business is growing quicker than the foundations that support the business and protect it. And the other phase, which sometimes occurs with growth and sometimes not, is installing the general manager. Because most entrepreneurs, business owners have an idea of business. They want the business that runs itself so they can have the freedom, you know.
Okay, yeah. And I think a lot of people over-leverage themselves as well. So their debt-to-loan value ratio is the critical thing. And if they set a system in play to not go over, say, leverage of 40%, then they've got a buffer. So for me, what I've done is I've actually empowered the staff to take responsibility. I've set their KPIs around the turnover of the business. Yeah, so I've got multiple layers, and then what I've done as well, I've put an area manager in, not a general manager, because what do I need a general manager for? You know, if I have an area manager that floats around, does the training, but also works within the business, and he's incentivized really well, or she, then I find it's a self-sustaining system. You don't need to pay someone $200,000 to be toffee nosed and sit in an office and talk down to staff when they should be working with staff. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of companies. They are too top heavy.
Right.
Whereas what they should be doing is dissipating all the extra profit amongst the little managers and the staff. And that's what keeps the system working.
And what controls do you have in place to make sure, because when I see issues occur from perhaps the first time of the installation of someone that's managing the business so that the founder, owner can take a step back, off what can happen at that point is if the systems aren't strong enough, the business itself in the hands of someone else doesn't perform to the same degree as when the owner founder is managing it. So what systems did you put in place to ward against that risk?
Look, I think what I've done is to empower the staff to talk up, to speak up, okay? Because a lot of big companies, I find, the person that's doing the work or doing the sales doesn't get heard up the line. And they're your frontline soldiers. You don't listen to the lieutenant at the back. It's the guys at the front that are getting shot at that you need to listen to. Now, they're not always right and they don't have an understanding of the whole picture, okay? I get that. But I think when you lose sight of those frontline soldiers, that's when sight of the whole business can get lost. You know, you can be putting your energy into the wrong area. And so you're wasting money. And I think that's inevitably it creates a bad culture, and with a bad culture creates bad sales or a bad system, bad processes. I think if you give the ability for people to speak up and come up with great ideas, every single human being is a vessel of creativity. Now, if you allow them to be heard, and as a boss, I'm continuously saying I fucked up. And my biggest rule with my staff is you put your hand up when you make a mistake, we fix it. If you don't put your hand up, then you're in trouble. I don't care if you make a mistake. I tell that to them. Yeah. Just don't make it 2 or 3 times in a row and then you'll get sacked.
Don't make it too often.
Yeah.
Don't listen too much.
But if their heart is trying to do the right thing and they make a mistake, why would you bring them down or lower their ability to be creative? You're just stemming creative juices to improve the business.
I love it. I 100% agree with you. You have many philosophies that I really believe in. And another question, of course I have a million, but this particular question relates to franchise versus not franchise, go it alone. So firstly, what made you decide to go for a business that was franchised rather than starting up something yourself?
Systems and processes.
Yeah.
That's it. Because like you said, it all comes back to systems and processes. I wanted something that I didn't have to create. My wife was an ex-operations manager, and that was one of her key criteria. So systems and processes with franchise.
Yeah. And clearly the model works for you because that's what you've continued. You've continued to open up or acquire.
They don't work for everyone, though. Yeah. And I've been egotistical and thought I could open one up everywhere, and it hasn't gone as well as I thought it was going to go. And don't get me wrong.
What are the bits that didn't go right?
Not truly understanding your market, feeling that just because you're successful, and I see this a lot, Subways, this and that, just because one goes good in one area and you understand your demographics and where the store is placed and the rent, it's a holiday area, it's not a holiday area, For me, going in and being too optimistic and not coming back to the data. So me and Kim are very, very critical about the data. It's just like a lawyer, yeah? You've got to go through everything specifically. And a lot of people don't want to do that work. And as an owner, it should be a one-page data item monthly for you to review everything. But then if you're going to do a new venture, and that's where all your energy goes. Yeah, and you've got to be willing to say no. It's not worth the risk. Yeah, that's there's got to be a line drawn in the sand to say no. It's a lot easier to lose it.
And I've just got to say a massive thank you. There are so many things that you've talked about today that I just think are really fundamental. And this discussion went in a whole heap of directions I wasn't expecting. But I love it. No, I really love it. I think it's, it's absolutely fascinating. And, massive kudos to you for making it through tough times, and developing a mentality that saw you through, because a victim mentality can be a really damaging thing,
Absolutely.
And there's so many things in business you can't control, but the one thing that you can control is your the thought process you give to it. So, and you're just
critical.
A testament to how that can play out.
Yes.
And I just think it's a really good point for people to stand back and as I said right before when we were talking about it, of course we're in this period of massive uncertainty and massive loss for many of our listeners, many business owners, but that can be an opportunity for serious reflection about what it really is that you're building and why, and how maybe you can build it better the second time round.
I agree. And look, I've done it. I've done it in 6-7 years. So everyone listening, you don't, it's not impossible, have hope and don't give up and have drive. That's what me and Kim are trying to do. We're trying to create with our mentoring group. The main people we have are mum and dads that have tried to invest and lost money and they've got kids. All they want is time back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're getting people to collaborate together, teach them every process we've learnt. Okay, from the fundamentals, we share everything with them. And that's our drive. That's our way to give back. Sure, charge them, but that's because it needs to be an equal transition of energy.
Sure.
Yeah. That's the thing.
And I mean, it's your time. You've got to value your time, because if you don't value your time, who the hell will?
Exactly. And that comes back to the way you are treated. If you treat yourself highly valued, you are highly valued. And the people on the course or listening to you will listen to you. It's as simple as you go to a $50 course, no one goes. No one just, they go, don't worry about it, it's $50. You go to a $1,500 course, you go, I'm going to rock up. I'm going to be on time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a value process.
It is. And so tell us just really quickly, as you mentioned, you have taken a number of people through a bit of a coaching program. What is it that is the outcome that you think that you're leading them to?
What we're leading to, so we've aligned up all their values. Not everyone got in, by the way. So we've picked specific groups that are ready emotionally, and the ones that we thought were just on the borderline, we tried to get them to do some work on themselves. Yeah, and so we're linking all these people, because coming back to collaboration, don't be scared to collaborate if you've got the fundamentals right. Okay, because that was the stepping stone for me. Okay, I needed help. Put your hand up. Ask, create a vision. So that's what we've done with these people. And look, we spent 5 months traveling last year. We've had a holiday off. We go to Whistler. We spent 6 weeks in Whistler. It's Vanuatu, this, that. So for us, our freedom, that is time. And it was just by coincidence that people were attracted to that through our Facebook and Kim's coaching business. And we thought, well, Kimmy was like, well, why can't we do that for someone else? Why can't we do that for a group of people? So we've got a couple of families around Australia that are in the process of it. We've got a contract to purchase their first business, which is really good. And they'll look at getting a 26% return on investment annually.
26% return annually. That is huge. That's
without me improving it. So I'm sitting back and I'm looking at items and going, there's 20, 30 grand I can change straight away. So there's opportunities out there, but they could never do it by themselves. Yeah.
Sorry, this is where the lawyer in me feels like I just must need to say, by the way, this is not financial advice. Please ensure that you go and get tailored advice in relation to your own circumstances.
I am not a financial advisor.
That's right. Just throwing it in there, the lawyer in me felt the need to throw that in. But possibly you're looking at, your feeling is that you can get this to 26% return.
Look, obviously, it's over that. It's over that, but we've lowballed it with our basic numbers. But look, anything could happen. It could go down to. But the way I see, even if it goes down to 15% or 12%, imagine if it just goes from 26 to 12. Who gives a shit? It's a great investment. You don't get that, and then it's all about compounding that money. So what we're teaching is to compound that investment into the next investment. Then that will compound into the next one. And then all these mums and dads will start to get the freedom of the hours that they wanted to spend time with their kids. That is more powerful than having cash in the bank. The vision of the freedom to have with your family or whatever, your new baby or dog or cat or whatever. That is the vision that needs to be used. Get passionate about that.
Peter, I love the passion. I just absolutely love it. Look, you have been incredibly generous with your time today. As we have learned, time is extremely important to you, and you've got sounds like some really good barriers and filters around that. So I'm glad that you relaxed them a little bit.
I did not say the invoices going to be emailed to you after this. Don't worry.
Love it, Peter.
I've calculated my daily rate. It's $3,280 a day. So.
You're worth more.
I know I
am. Look, it's been an absolute joy speaking to you. I think this is a really important message, not to harp onto it, but we're in a hard time. Yeah. And I think it's for even businesses who are doing well through this period, and there's a hell of a lot of our listeners who aren't, by the way, but for all business owners, it's just, I just think the one important thing to take out of today, there's two. Number one, getting real with understanding what it is that you actually want to be creating, because business can be so busy, can't it? And you can just get so caught in the doing that you forget to stand back and just work out where it is that you had intended.
Yes.
Yourself,
And if you're not there, cut the arm off, move somewhere else.
Make hard calls.
Yes.
I think that's a thing right at this moment, and the importance of making hard calls while keeping really clear with where it is that that you're actually going. But there's a lot of things in what you've talked about that require, you didn't then just sit back and meditate from a mountaintop. You took serious action, and you found ways to make it happen. And there was risk in what you did, and it could have all gone to crap. But I feel like you were the kind of person who just would have got back up, dusted yourself off again, and
started again.
All right. Okay, let's try the next plan.
And that's life, isn't it? It's like a wave. We go up and down. Sometimes
100%
that wave's a
it
big
is.
one and you get smashed. So,
Peter, I've loved it. I hope you feel that this has been a useful investment of your time as well. I know our listeners are going to absolutely love it. Look, I have a feeling there might be a whole heap of people who want to follow you guys on Facebook and see what you're doing next. If I say Facebook, wherever the hell you are, how do people find you guys?
Look, that's my wife. I think I sent Marie a link to my wife's Facebook. I'm not a massive fan on the digital side of things, probably because my wife has banned me. But
I'm pretty crap on social media. 100% honest. Usually it's not me, even if it looks like it is. I can't like it. Anyway. Let me not get started on social media.
Look, it's Kim Lloyd, and we've set up a link for our Infinity team or page to join. I think Marie's got it there. I don't know what you do with it. It's Kim Lloyd from Noosa. She's a qualified business coach, NLP. She's an amazing woman, and she changes people's lives. So if anyone out there needs to reach out, even for a chat, even if they want to have a chat with me and they're a business and they're, I'm happy to spend time with someone as long as they're not in that victim mentality and they want some support and want to chat. I'll be happy to speak to them one-on-one as well, as a way for giving back to. But just remember, guys, I'm not making any money at the moment as well. My businesses are closed.
Yeah.
Because I've set up systems in play, I have a big war chest.
That is just amazing. And, and I love that this whole discussion, is coming from you, who's a gym owner. We just, as we spoke about just before, like if you didn't have yourself set up well, this is what takes out businesses,
exactly.
Right? It's about then finding a way that you can have a business that can sustain these times, I guess.
And Joanne, just a last finishing thing, everyone needs to do their numbers. The data is the critical thing. You need to know exactly your numbers. Yeah, a lot of people invest, but they don't work the investment out to work out how much it actually cost them. All your taxes, or your repairs, or your interest rates, etc. That's inflation. Like, add it in.
And sometimes it's also for the reason that you can that red flags will be raised that tell you when you need to get rid of assets or investments before they pull you down.
That's exactly what I've done previously now, because I went through that bankruptcy experience. I set, like you said, the red flag system. Know your data. As soon as you see that data tweak, month 2, boom, on the market. Let's get rid of it. First buyer comes up, flick it off. Don't worry about 30, 40 grand. You can make that money up later. Or do you want to lose the 600-700 grand you invested?
So. Oh, it's such a good point. It's such a good point. But you need the data. You need to know what's going on to be able to make those calls. Absolutely love it. Cool. Look, in our show notes, we'll put links through to all of that stuff that Kim has sent us, it sounds like. I probably won't link there, but someone under my name might. I love it, Peter.
Thanks,
this discussion's rocked. I think our listeners will absolutely love it.
I hope so. As long as I touch one person, that's all that matters.
Oh, many more than that. Now, look, you go have some of that fabulous free time you've built.
Thanks, Joe.
Right, that's it for this episode of Talking Law, where we talked, of course, to Peter Lloyd all about his experience in having a really difficult upbringing, but being able to take some of the learnings from not even having finished school, from having also a business that ended up in bankruptcy, to now having been able to build not just the business, but also the life of his dreams through business. I hope that this discussion has inspired you. And if you are having a really tough time in your business at the moment, maybe you'll find that some of the things that Peter and I talked about might give you a new lens for which to look at your business and your business model as it is right now and ask yourself some hard but critical questions. And look, if you'd like to reach out to Peter or his wife Kim Lloyd, then just head over to our website at talkinglaw.com.au or just check out your show notes, because we'll have a link straight through to Peter and also to Kim's Facebook page, other social media pages as well, if you would like to connect with them in person. Now, through our website at talkinglaw.com.au, you will also be able to download a transcript of this podcast episode if you're one of those people who just loves the detail and likes to see it written down. There you'll also be able to find details of how to contact our lawyers at Aspect Legal if you would like help with any of the items we covered today. We have a number of great services for businesses to help them not just in times of trouble, but also to help them fortify and protect their business, to set them up for growth into the future so that when issues hit the business, it's less likely to have the impact of tearing the business down. At our website, you'll be able to contact our lawyers at Aspect Legal for a free discussion about your business or about any issues or concerns that you might have in mind at the moment. Well, that's it. I'm so grateful for you for listening into this podcast today. I really enjoyed recording it. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And if you did, maybe you might consider heading over to your favorite podcast player, and after you've hit subscribe, also perhaps leave us a review. We'd be ever so grateful. Well, that's it. Thanks again for listening in. You've been listening to Joanna Oakey and Talking Law, a podcast that is very proudly brought to you by our commercial legal practice, Aspect Legal. See you next time. Are you looking for a top quality legal team to assist you in your organisation? Aspect Legal is an innovative commercial legal practice that specialises in providing fast and professional services for their clients. If you'd like to chat about how we might be able to assist you, simply head over to our website at aspectlegal.com.au to book in a time for a free discussion with one of our lawyers.
Thanks for listening to Talking Law. Tune in next time for more smart legal tips and tricks to keep you clear of those legal landmines. If you want to get a download of today's show notes, head over to talkinglaw.com.au. Information in this podcast is general in nature, not legal advice. If you want advice for your business, visit talkinglaw.com.au.